Addiction is a very strange conversation to have because I think we understand it and we don't understand it. Whenever you hear news about a Fredo Santana passing at the age of 27 or a little Peep passing at the age of 21, the response is always something that's like, well, they listen to the music and the music talks about drugs and doing drugs, so they did it because they wanted to be cool. They did it to fit in. I thought fitting in was what young people did. It's what you do to survive when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. Now, you might be listening to this and saying, well, yeah, but I didn't do drugs. Well, that's fine. You lifted weights, you played sports, you played video games. These activities to fit into these particular peer groups may range from doing drugs or lifting weights. They may be very harmful, or it might be something that, uplifts you, but you did it to fit into your peer group. Now, if you get older, 25, 30, 35, there's no more of a need to fit into a group. You have already grown into the individual that you have to be. And everyone does it, even at an early age. You think about somebody like Kanye growing up in Chicago. You think Kanye listened to rap music solely because rap is just that great? No, we're social creatures. And if we grow up in environments where rap is praised and it brings people together, then you will have a certain number of people that will flock to that, either to get attention or to get approval. It's just what human beings do to fit in. So I think when we hear news about that, we understand it because we say, yeah, we know it's connected to the brain and it's addiction. They should stop doing it. And we understand it, but we don't. And I think that's part of the reason why at this very minute, after hearing news of these two people passing away, there will be somebody else who will pass away because we don't fully understand them. My earliest memories of addiction in rap music was a group by the name of the Alcoholics. Now, they were coming out of the West Coast. And as you may imagine, with a name like the Alcoholics, their entire brand was about liquor. It was about drinking. I mean, albums like 21 and Over, Liquidation, Firewater. But the thing with them was their music was always really jovial. It was always connected to happiness. It's something that they did together. There was no depression involved in it. They didn't have melancholy songs about my girl left me, so I'm drinking. So as a young person, you didn't really feed that negative energy off of it. And I think after that, it was Eminem. I think Eminem with the pills and the mushrooms and all of that. But Eminem's humor and his tongue-in-cheek made him come across as a cartoon character. At least to me it did. So you didn't take Eminem all that seriously when it came to the drugs. I remember in 2004 when ODB passed at the age of 35 and Pimp C died in 2007 at the age of 33, both off of drugs. There was no conversation really about the dangers of drugs in the music. It really wasn't in the music, as the common adage that people are throwing out now is that rap used to be about selling drugs. Now it's about doing drugs. The music wasn't about doing drugs, so people didn't connect it to the music. They connected it to the lifestyle, to the quote unquote rock star lifestyle. But a large part of the reason why there wasn't a big conversation about it was because it's all about responsibility. At the age of 35 and 33, we can pretty much say that you were going to do what you were going to do anyway. And when we see somebody at the age of 27 or 21 pass, we all collectively feel like we have a responsibility. That's why even though we have dismissive attitudes, there still is a sense of community, a sense of what can be done, what conversation can we start. Of course, we attack the music first. We always attack the artist first. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but that's our initial response. We're really dismissing the brain here. And when I say that, I don't want to come across as a guy who understands the brain, because I don't. I'm not a neurologist. I don't have a degree in any of that. I don't understand it, but of course these days, if you do a surface level amount of research on something, you can get to the meat and potatoes of it. You just won't understand all the intricate pieces of it. So I want to talk about the brain for a little bit, and because we have to understand that there are parts of the brain that before the age of 25 don't fully develop. They just don't. And when you take drugs, that only makes the lack of development of that part of the brain only that much more weaker. So let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. It says the prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain located at the front of the frontal lobe. It is implicated in a variety of complex behaviors, including planning, and greatly contributes to the personality development. Let's go a little bit more into detail. The prefrontal cortex is involved in a wide variety of functions, including coordinating and adjusting complex behavior, impulse control and organization of emotional reactions. I'm no fucking therapist, but I would assume that this is what's connected to the depression. The emotional reactions. I would assume that all those posts that you saw of Little Peep just weeks before he died would be the correlation to that. And when I listened to his music, I think a week after he passed, I listened to his music and it was just so melancholy, and you can see all of this coming from afar. So it continues. Personality, focusing and organizing attention, complex planning, considering and prioritizing competing and simultaneous information. The ability to ignore external distractions is partially influenced by the prefrontal cortex. And as the article continues, the bottom half here is what I had mentioned to you before. Most neurologists agree that the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until around the age of 25. Now, after all that, after listening to me babble and read, I want you to consider something. Imagine if you're 21, 22 years old and you've been partaking in these drugs. Now, imagine if you have a very important decision to make. Now, I want you to think about your thought process and the vicious circle that you may have been in for the last year or two, where you have an important decision to make. And because your mind hasn't been fully developed, you have convinced yourself that you cannot consider any of the variables until you take whatever drug it is that you are addicted to. Because when you think about it, that's like a person who's insane trying to become their own therapist, right? Because the problem is taking place inside your head to begin with. It's all very ironic. And that's all a part of the vicious circle. Long-term drug use causes brain changes that can set up people for addiction and other problems. Once a young person is addicted, his or her brain changes so that drugs are now the top priority. He or she will compulsively seek and use drugs, even though doing so brings devastating consequences to his or her life and for those who care about them. I think when we get to the root of this issue, which obviously will take a very long time, I think if I could connect this to anything that's happening right now in society, I would say that sports, you have athletes that are dealing with a lot of head trauma. You have people committing suicide. You have people like Aaron Hernandez, the tight end for the New England Patriots, who committed suicide. He was up for a double murder. He was doing life in prison. And a lot of people have connected this to the head trauma that he's gotten during his career. And this is more self-inflicted. Well, they're equally self-inflicted, really. But, this is going into the scientific areas of the human brain. And this is a conversation that we don't like to have because, especially in hip hop, a genre that is made up of black and brown people, traditionally, we do not believe in certain things. We do not like to give in to weakness. We don't like to give in to the idea of therapy. We don't like to give in to the idea of being hurt or sick. You should go see a doctor. No, I'll be fine. And that's all a part of the big issue. This is a huge issue with so many layers to it, but it's unique because, of course, you're also dealing with young people. And if you're 18, 19, 20, you think you're invincible. You think you're unstoppable and there is no way that an addiction can get a hold of you, but it tends to be getting a hold of a lot of these younger artists. Now, we can have those typical conversations about what the music does, and the music is going to do what the music is going to do. But I think if we have a full understanding of what the consequences of those decisions to take these drugs or to be cool or to fit in, if we become more aware of what those consequences lead to, I think we'll be a lot better off. But what do you guys think about this topic? I want to know what you guys think about the topic of addiction. I want to know what you guys think about these rappers that seem to be dying every 1 or 2 months, beyond the dismissive comment of fuck them, they're ruining their own lives. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. And please do not forget to like this video because it helps me out so very much. But let me know in the comment section below. and I will see you guys next time.